Hey y'all, it's Chimney. So I'm here in Mexico, and ever since arriving in Mexico, and truly even before I arrived, people have asked me and I have asked myself, Chimney, what are you doing in Mexico? Like, what's there for you? Why are you there? What's going on? What is the plan? What is the point? What is going on? And my question has been the same to other people, which is, I'm here to vibe, all right? It's very affordable, cost of living, that's why I'm here. And the question to myself when I've answered it has been around, oh, you're here to learn about your relationship to abundance and to, connect to your introversion and like extroversion and going out and meeting people and building relationships and dating. Like, it's this purgatory style container for you to like retreat and really dive deep into your spiritual journey, but in a whole new way. All this different stuff, right? Which all is well and good. But when I was loading the washing machine in this apartment and like watching a video that the landlady made to explain how the machine works, and I was thinking about how I would hang up my clothes on the roof without any of the any of those thingamajiggies you use to actually clip your clothes in place and hoping they don't blow away, I had to really ask myself, why have you chosen to make your life this difficult? Because this isn't necessary. None of this is necessary. You don't need to be figuring out how to use a washing machine right now because you're grown. So you could have made different choices. And yet, here we are. So what is going on? What's happening? And I really was like, existentially, like, what is going on? So I talked to my friend who also did this trauma healing program with me. As a result, we have this like shorthand of knowing how to really drop into our body and basically do process work with each other and hold space. And so I'm like, laughing and joking with her about this experience of being like, what's going on with the laundry? Why am I here? And the way it was like, boop, like the insight dropped in. And as much as I love doing process work and doing healing work and learning things about myself, whenever I'm actually hit with like a whoosh insight, I'm like, no, I didn't want to see this. But of course, once it's seen, it can't be unseen. Essentially what dropped in is I chose to move here. Part of the humor for me is that I don't need to be worried about rent or bills. I created this situation. Like, my family would be more than happy to have me stay with them. I chose to leave. And in that insight of like realizing that I created this, I saw like, oh, this is you running. I did a year of travel with Remote Year. Shout out to everyone who's using my referral code, by the way. I really appreciate it. And I remember we started in Lisbon, Portugal, which is a really fun, great time. And then our second month was in Split, Croatia. And I'd never been to Croatia, never wanted to be in Croatia, and it was cold. Split, Croatia is great if you're like summertime yacht vibes. In the fall, when everything's shut down, it's really confusing while you're there. And I remember it was the same feeling of sitting in Croatia being like, why am I in Croatia? Like, it just was so clearly not aligned, but here I was, and I was so genuinely confused. And what's really beautiful about the healing work is you learn that confusion is one of the masks we have to not see something we're not ready to see. So if we were ready to see it, we would see it, we would know it, we would process it. If we're confused, it's because things aren't quite right for us to see it. It might be kind of a lot. And so we just need the perfect container. In my case, it was a friend who was holding space for me. And it was like, oh, you're in a safe space. We can drop at this bomb of insight of like, whoa. What I realized is that given the way I grew up, I always had this mindset of, I am getting the F out of here. I'm getting the F out of here. I may need to work really hard in school, though I'm also naturally intelligent, but I may need to be very focused so that I can make sure I am at the top of my class and I get a full scholarship to college, so there's no financial pressure on me getting the F out of here, but that's very much what we're gonna do. And I didn't realize the extent to which that energy drove me and has been driving me, even though I have not lived at home in literally over a decade, right? Being here and being in a whole ass other country, I realized, first I connected to like the distance that I created between me and my family, and the pain that I could feel my family feeling that I am like I like whooshed my energy like away. So that was like that first layer of grief. And then for me, the big heart opening came from this sense of, it doesn't matter how far I run or where I go, I'm always gonna have to come back, And I think that is a very young energy. It's like a childhood energy where I was never that kid who was gonna like run away from home. So there was never a world where I was actually gonna be roughing it and toughing it out in the world. Even if I was like escaping, into my own energy or whatever else, there was never a sense of like true freedom. And in connecting to this sense of like resigned, like kind of like no matter what, even if I go to Mexico for a few months, whatever else, I'll always end up coming back. And because I've had experiences of living in Maryland for most of my life, doing this year of traveling the world, moving to LA, but I still came back to Maryland. And I don't think I realized that I had this narrative of you can never really escape. You can never really be free. You're always going to have to come back. And I just feel really grateful because I had a friend that I could talk to, and I do a lot of coaching with folks, and they reflect on, okay, how do I do this process work? And I do a lot of process work alone, and I always share that you can really move a lot of energy by yourself, but it is really different when you have another human being to hold the space for you, because then you have two nervous systems, and it allows for bigger things to come up and for them to move quicker. And then she mirrored something that was really helpful to me, which was, yes, you maybe ran away, but also consider that you were running to something as well. And I did this reality show, which if you watch my video about the reality show, I show you how to see a clip. I did a pilot, it was never released, thank God. In it, I reflect on this idea of if you're an expat, if you are a nomad, you're really just running away from your problems. And someone else on the show with me says, you could also be adventurous and wanting to explore and running towards things, etc., etc. And I, at the time, dismissed that because it wasn't true for me. But then hearing my friend mirror, like, while it is a part of me that's kind of moving from this unhealed, wounded place, there's this other part of me that does think it's really effing cool that I'm the kind of person who can decide, I'm gonna move to Mexico, and not having any family, not being so fluent in the language, not even having as much money as you would think you would maybe want to have before moving to another country. I'm like, I'll figure it out. And then I'm actually the person who does go and then live in the place and then thrive in the place. And of course still does her inner work and go on her emotional healing journeys, but is overall just like having a really fun ass time, like swimming in the ocean and chilling on the beach and enjoying her pool and living in her apartment and eating really good food. Both things can be true. I'm curious if you're someone who considers himself an expat, or if you consider yourself a traveler, how you relate to this idea of when you're running away from your stuff versus when you're running to something really beautiful and fun. And how do you know for yourself when it's one or the other? I knew for myself when I kept having this question of why am I here? Because when things are flowing in our life, this is something I learned from my spiritual teacher, when things are flowing in your life, you don't ask questions because you don't have any questions, because they're flowing. You know what to do, you know what the next step is, and you move forward. It's in the areas in our life where we're like, I don't know what to do next, I don't know how to move forward. That's actually the sign that there's some part of you that isn't online and is probably stuck some decades back, and you're using your energy keeping that part back there and not feeling whatever intense thing you need to feel around that emotion. Because as soon as you do, it becomes very clear. It becomes very clear what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the blessing, you get to do it consciously. So now I get to consciously run away from my family and from America, and consciously run to adventure and all these beautiful times. And just to be clear, my family is great. The running away energy, it's a young energy. It's a child energy. And that's why we heal and why we integrate, so that we can be an adult and realize that we always have agency. We always are free, and we get to choose to be free or choose to consciously, be in a situation that isn't as supportive but it always comes down to us. Once we do the healing work. If you want to hang out with me every Wednesday, I host Hello Creators weekly digital creator roundtable. It's Wednesdays at noon Eastern, and you can RSVP in the link in my description. I'm also a creative coach, so if you want some one-on-one support, you can book some time with me in the description as well. And I host accountability calls. So if you're trying to get some work done and you know you will be more productive if you have someone staring in your face like, what are you about to do for this hour? You can join my Patreon. It's only for $3 a month. And we do accountability calls Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, y'all. Bye.